Insomniac, and this is Starbucks Brazil. Okay, well, before we actually look at the coffee and brew some of this up, I'll give you a look at the packaging. The packaging is made up of some interesting colors. Fairly nice. There it is, Starbucks Brazil. And you have, I don't know, I'm not a zoologist. I don't know what the hell that is. A leopard, a cheetah, something. A little bit more information on the back about the roast. And let's take a look at the beans. I'll give you a close-up here on camera. So it's a nice looking roast. It says Brazil Latin American blend. Based on what I read, there is coffee in here from Brazil, but then it is balanced with a blend of other beans from Latin America. It does not specify on here where in Latin America the other beans are sourced from, but it's not completely Brazilian despite the fact that it's called Starbucks Brazil. It says here that this coffee is a medium roast, 100% Arabica coffee, contains Brazilian and other Latin American coffees. Okay. Alright, well, let's see what it smells like. Wow, it's really, really sweet. Really nice and sweet. First aroma that comes to mind is actually vanilla wafer cookies. Really strong wafer cookie aroma. Vanilla wafer cookies to be specific. Then you kind of have this interesting citrus aroma that smells like grapefruit, but really sugar. Like if you were to pour sugar on grapefruit, that's basically what that citrusy aroma reminds me of. Then other than that, I really don't pull too many aromas from the raw beans. It's just very bright and very sweet. So let's brew some of this up and see what it smells and tastes like in liquid form. Okay, so we have some of this brewed up. We pressed it with the AeroPress. Now let's see what it smells like in liquid form. Still very sweet. Really nice kind of honey-like sweetness. Then there's a nice light kind of nutty aroma. It reminds me specifically of hazelnut. And the last aroma kind of reminds me of warm cereal. Most specifically Captain Crunch, which I haven't had in a very long time, but that is exactly what's springing to mind. Alright, well, it smells pretty good brewed as well. Let's give it a shot and see what it tastes like. First thing I get is dirty mixed nuts. It kind of has like a raw, just earthy, mixed nutty flavor to it. And kind of going along the same lines as the earthy thing, you actually have a pretty thick, leafy flavor. I do get a little bit of the maple that is mentioned on the bag. I'm not sure if you saw in the close-up, but it says here sweet maple is one of the flavors. I do get a little bit of that. There is a little bit of a tangy, slightly bitter citrus that actually reminds me of grapefruit. That's pretty cool because it's a nice tie-in to one of the aromas I had. You have a slightly bitter, very long finish, and now don't confuse the slightly and very. The finish isn't very bitter, it's slightly bitter. You have a little bit of bitterness on the finish. The finish itself, though, is very, very long, and the body of the coffee is pretty large. So what I mean by that is after I take a sip, the flavors kind of stick on the palate and in your mouth all the way into the next sip. I could still taste the coffee as I'm talking to you from the last sip. It's not overbearingly bitter. In fact, the bitterness is really just towards the tail end of the sip, but there is a little bit of it there. Like I said, very good body, and you have a good amount of complexity. You have quite a few different types of flavors. There's a little bit of layer to the flavors. Yeah. So pretty good coffee. Not unlike with most Starbucks coffees that I review, I seem to always get at least some type of bitterness. And I know it's not user error because you've seen tons of coffee reviews on this channel. I very rarely get bitterness in just about anything that an AeroPress or French press. Not that you can't have a little bit of a bitterness in a coffee. That is acceptable to a degree. And like I said, this is well within the acceptable standard. I don't know if there is an acceptable standard that's actually measured quantitatively, but what I'm saying is that it's not super bitter. It's just, I would prefer no bitterness whatsoever. And that little bit of bitterness at the tail end of the sip is the only thing that really keeps me from giving this a great score, because I really do appreciate the flavors and aromas here. Body's nice, a little bit more complex than a few of the coffees that I've reviewed recently. So on a 1 to 10 scale, that leaves me at a 7. Still a good score. Could have been a little bit better though, if not for the fact that this cup and the one that I tried before this off camera, just a little bit bitter. If you've had this coffee, definitely leave a comment down below. Let everybody know what you thought of it. If you'd like to see a lot more coffee reviews happening a lot more often on this channel, and you would like to support the work, sign up to the link at the top of the video description down there. There is a Patreon account just for Should I Drink This. It would certainly be a help. All right, I'll see you all at the next one.